Right, I do believe that this has gone live, so that's good news for me. I am going to have a quick look in the comments and just if anyone's there. Yes, good to see you, Leo. Nice to see you. Yeah, everyone will join, I hope, in time. But Leo, it's good to see you, and I'm sure other people will be here, not just me and you. But good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in whatever part of the world. And I normally do audio rooms, but today I wanted to do a live. So I haven't done a live for such a long time. If I'm a bit rusty, please forgive me. But I wanted to talk about emotional intelligence in a slightly different way. I wanted to look at this concept of 3 steps to make people do what you want, which is a great title, isn't it? So I shall wait for the room to fill up a little bit more. Hi, Adrian. Good to see you. Uma, good to see you as well. And yes, this title, 3 steps to make people do what you want. It's a very interesting one. So before I get cracking, just want to tell you a little bit about me. For those of you who have not heard of me, which is perfectly fine. You know, I do the audio rooms. It's difficult to catch them. My name is Joy Langley, and I'm an emotional intelligence coach, and I'm also a therapist. Been a therapist for a good 18 years, it feels like, absolute ages. But now I work with business owners and entrepreneurs, and I help you to look at that whole idea of your emotional strength, the things that really are, we cannot actually stop that from happening to us as human beings. They just get in the way. So everyone's saying good morning, good afternoon. I just heard my phone go. Apologies, guys. I thought someone was trying to tell me something like I wasn't on live. These are the thoughts that run through my head, guys. You know, we talk about anxiety. I talk about anxiety, and there are so many things going on, aren't there? Distractions in the world. But getting back to what I was saying, okay, because this is going to be half an hour today. I don't want to overcook things today. So my name's Joy Langley. I'm an emotional intelligence coach, and I work with entrepreneurs and business owners. And I help you to strengthen your emotional attitude and direction, everything around your emotions, basically, so you can have a stronger business. Because I know that my emotions get in the way all of the time. Okay. And we can't help that. So don't be tough on yourself. Emotions are what makes human beings human. And with all this AI that's out there, it's probably a good way to tell the difference, isn't it? So let's go with that. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to stop rambling, making sure that everything's live and I'm on air. So yes, 3 steps to make people do what you want. It's an interesting title, isn't it? And I know that it may have triggered some of you, certainly triggered me. And it may also have felt a little bit like clickbait. Now, that's an interesting kind of word, isn't it? Clickbait. What does that mean? You probably go on the internet just as much as I do. And there is so much information out there. And it can be a way of pulling people in. But that wasn't my intention, guys. I'm getting lots of hellos. So thank you very much, everyone. Hi. Good to see Jack and Alexandra, Yannick. Yes, I can see you all. It's beautiful. Yeah, so this title, it can be quite triggering, because is it really possible to get people to do what you want? So it sounded a bit clickbaity. And I work with a lot of coaches myself. You know, I'm always in that process of upgrading, upskilling, up-leveling myself, because I do want to have more influence. I want to have more impact. I want to be able to persuade people, and I want to invite people to join me on things. So I'm always in that process. And this title, which was suggested to me by my coach, I was like, really? Is that a good idea? So if you're here today, I want to commend you. I want to pat you on the back, because I want you to think about a scale of 1 to 10. So it's probably left to right, but 1 to 10. And I want you to put yourself on that scale of being open or being closed to that idea, whether it triggered you. Now, if it triggered you, it'd probably be a 10. Like, wow, this is like clickbait. I'm not going to join Joy. I won't join Joy today at all. And you wouldn't be here. If you're a 1 or up to a 5, then you know what? you should pat yourself on the back because you are an open person, you are curious, and yes, you don't just shut things down. For me, this whole emotional intelligence journey is about self-awareness. But how do we make other people do what we want? Is that truly possible? I'm going to let you down gently. No, you can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. And that's a good thing too, because sometimes we're in reverse, aren't we? Like people are trying to make us do things and you want to have the ability to say no. But I want you to think about and understand that everything that's happening to us is happening to somebody else. And we can be a very good example of perhaps how other people are going to be behaving. So the title is great. I hope it had the effect that it was meant to have on you and it pulled you in, which it did. And it's making you think about, is it possible to make other people do what I want? Of course, the big answer is no. But on a smaller scale, I'm going to say, actually, yes, you can. Because we're always influencing people. We're always having an impact on people, whether we like it or not. Okay, that's always happening. So how can you have more influence? How can you have a greater impact? How can you invite people and encourage people more? That's the big question. And I want you to know it all starts with you. And you probably don't want to hear that, do you? Because we have to do a lot of work on ourselves. We have to understand a lot of what's going on for ourselves way, way, way before we can be involved with other people. And no one really tells us that because we grow up and we learn things and we get to be in our 20s and our 30s and wherever we are. I'm quite at the other end of the scale, guys, but you get to be a lot older. And you hopefully have acquired skills as you've gone along. You've met more people, you've got more data to work on. You kind of work out, how do I make people do what I want? And it's with a little bit of encouragement, I would say, but also you understanding yourself. So let me unravel that idea. Right, I want you to think about the fact that you are already being influenced by other people and you are possibly already buying into things without realizing it, possibly against your wishes. I don't know, hopefully with your consent. I want you to think about where I'm going with this, okay? And I want you to realize that we're always being sold to, or we are probably selling ourselves without realizing it. We're always being sold to. I want you to think about what's in the world at the moment, which is having the biggest impact on you and has done for a long, long time. Now, when I sat down and I thought about this, I realized it's the media, television. It's had a big impact on me from the moment I started watching television. And then going way, way back, of course, the biggest influences were carers, parents, people around us that have actually given us ideas and beliefs. They may be, I call them second-hand beliefs, because they're not necessarily ours, but if we repeat them often enough, they become ours. But the media has had a powerful influence on us. The social media continues to have a very, very big influence on us. And we have to work out, this big question, can we get people to do what we want? My big question today was 3 steps to make people do what you want. What was I referring to? And I want you to think about this. I've been working on it and I want to do a fuller webinar next week, Saturday. I hope you're free and you can join me. But I want to do a fuller webinar where I pull in some ideas, which I think the 3 biggest things, and there are probably a few more, it's got to be around self-awareness. So I love talking about how do we become more self-aware. I want to look at ideas around communication as well. What kind of communication style do you have? How do you know? What might be more useful? And do you know when to kind of switch, not tack, but switch methods, switch the things that you're doing to kind of get people to buy into your ideas, because as entrepreneurs and business owners, we are doing that all of the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to hold my hand up and say, yes, of course I'm doing that. I want to do that. But I want to do it, I would say, ethically and morally. There is no way in this world that I would want to acquire things from other people without their consent, without their permission, in an ethical way. And I'm sure that you're watching and thinking exactly the same thing. You want the same thing. So that is a little bit about the introduction. You know, you are already being influenced by the world around you that is getting you to do the things that you may not necessarily want at that moment in time. We are being influenced by advertising. Now, this is where a lot of behavioral psychologists and psychologists come into the picture. I don't know if it's a good way or a bad way, but we certainly know a lot about the way the mind works, and it's being used against you, and we are using it against other people. Not in a bad way. It's just that human beings are pretty simple creatures, and we are always looking out for danger. And I think that's an easy way in to get us to buy into things, but also looking out for the fact that we're very easy to persuade as well. We can be persuaded to do things, especially when you give someone the idea that it was their idea. That works quite well, doesn't it? And also sometimes this idea about reciprocity. I do something for you, you feel obliged to do something for me. So there are lots and lots of ways of using, I suppose, the things that human beings do naturally to persuade them, to encourage them, to influence them. And like I said, I want to just make sure you understand this is all about being ethical. I never ever want anyone to do this unethically. It would be wrong. I don't know how you'd live with yourself, but I certainly couldn't. Everything that I do is really about presenting what we have. As business owners, we have something to sell. We present it to someone as persuasively as we can, and they have the choice to say yes or no. So how we do that is about what we bring to the table. Because before we get to that point, it's always us. It's about us. What's going on for us? And I'll confess to you, and I confess a lot on the on my posts about what's happening to me. It's a place of honesty that I'm a human being, and I have my ups and downs and rounds, and it's all about my internal emotional world. So before I can influence anybody else, I have to get a handle on myself first. And I want you to know that you do have to do that. I saw a really interesting post which made me laugh because it's about how much do you know about yourself? And I'm going to ask you a question. I want to ask you, let's think, what is your favorite color? Now, I want you to think about that for a while. I'm going to have a look at the feed and see if we get anything coming through. What's your favorite color? Interesting one. Now, the reason why I'm asking that is because there was a post by one of my friends and she didn't realize that she was wearing a lot of a certain color until someone pointed it out to her. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Some people don't even know what their favorite color is. People are saying blue and think other colors. Yep, great. Red, sky blue, Jack. Yeah, red. I get that. Blue. You know what? Blue's my favorite color too. Is there something going on here? But also, you've probably noticed that pink is my favorite color. And it's not because I'm female. A lot of men like pink too. Why not? If we're going back in time, boys were actually dressed in pink. So this blue pink thing is another idea that has been given to you by, guess where? Advertisers wanting to sell more products. And it's worked, hasn't it? Because one pair of trousers could fit a boy or a girl. Of course they could. But if we have a pink pair of trousers and a blue pair of trousers, one for boys, they say that's blue. One for girls, they say that's pink. You sell twice as much. Well, thereabouts. So you can see that It's not a bad thing. You are being influenced all the time by the things around you, hopefully to buy things that you want. And I want you to recognize that you can have a similar influence on people just by learning a couple of ideas about you, getting very, very clear on how you communicate. And that brings into play lots of body language stuff. And then also the last thing that I had down was empathy. Now, empathy is an interesting word because people don't know how to do it. But if you care about people, then you tend to be able to sense what's happening for them, which is why emotions can be quite contagious. Very contagious things in a room to raise emotions and also to lower them. That's what emotions can do, because human beings, we have mirror neurons in our brain, which means that when we're in front of people, we can almost sense what's happening to them. So I always say, don't put a crying child into a room with other crying children, because they'll all be crying. Sorry, let's get that right. One crying child into a room of children. The other children, if they're young enough, they'll all start crying because they start mirroring each other's feelings. So that's a little bit about the neuroscience and all of this neurotherapy and anything that goes on in the brain, basically. Losing myself there, guys. But yeah, I get carried away with it. Settle down, Joyce. So I'm actually telling myself to calm down internally, so I can communicate with you. And that's another big thing, isn't it? When we are with other people, are we able to slow down and have almost like a split second thinking, where we are able to respond rather than react? Now, there's some theory around that being 90 seconds. You've got 90 seconds to buy yourself some space. And I like to joke as well that, you have to take a short pause. And if you have a dog or a cat, you know what I mean. Little short pause between what you're about to say and what you say. And again, that's just a very simple way of monitoring yourself so that you can come across properly and get what you want from people. Now, I'm just going to double check in the chat to make sure that we're doing okay here, guys. Yeah, we still got the thread going about colours. People love colours, don't they? Absolutely. A lot of you do know what colour you like, which is beautiful. But you could try asking someone else and you might notice the hesitation. And for me, if we don't know something as simple as that about ourselves, then there must be so much more that we don't know. Right. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of 3 steps to make other people do what you want, and again in reverse, that process is being done to you, because sometimes you're a consumer and that sometimes you are also the seller. So there's 2 positions that you can play and you can be in, is that defense mechanisms. Nice word, defense mechanism. My defense mechanism gets triggered very, very quickly. It tends to be if people say no to me, like, whoo, I'm in a different space. And that defense mechanism is something which you do not want to be triggering in somebody if you're trying to win their consent, win their agreement, get them on board. You don't want to trigger people's defense mechanisms, which can happen very easily because I have my point of view and you have your point of view. So how do we get people to be on board with us? One of the easiest ways, I suppose, is kind of to encourage people to think that the idea is theirs. So you're getting some kind of buy-in by the person. They're buying into the idea. And that's about you talking about the idea in a way that perhaps plays to their ego, dare I say, but the fact that they are smart people, they're intelligent people, you love what they do, you've seen what they do. And that's not with being disingenuous. It's just that you say it and you are talking about your idea, and perhaps you might be saying that that's an idea that they could definitely have had because they're just so smart and so intelligent. You kind of begin to, I suppose, massage people, but not in a physical way. You're introducing ideas, but we're always, so I don't want to think that don't want you to think this is unethical, but we're always planting ideas in people's minds. And it doesn't take much to plant an idea in my mind. And like I said, when we're looking at emotions, we're triggering the strongest emotions of fear at one end and happiness at the other. But there are another 6 emotions which we know are at play as well, between the extremes of like fear and anger and happiness and joy. There are some other emotions in between, but we want to elicit some kind of emotional response from someone. So this is where the art of storytelling has come into being, how to get people to do what you want. You can tell them a story. Now, some of my previous audio rooms earlier in the year, I was doing a lot of storytelling, and it was fun. And I had a lot of people coming back and saying, Joy, that story has stuck in my mind. And I'm thinking, yes, it probably would. Because the defense mechanism that I was talking about, your invisible force field, a bit like Superman or Superwoman, your invisible force field, it just melts away when you tell a story. Our minds are very receptive to stories. We don't have to think too much. They go straight to the heart of the matter, and they keep us open-minded. So encouraging you to weave stories into your conversations with human beings if you want to have greater power, influence, impact, persuasion, invitation, you name it. Now, I'm going to be having my webinar next week, Saturday, and the link is in the comments. It's also underneath my profile picture as well. You'll be able to see that there. And it would be lovely to have you come along, because I want to expand upon some more ideas, but this time giving you some techniques that you can use around building your self-awareness. So I call it strengthening yourself way before you're with other people, so when things happen, you can handle it, basically. Now, I will teach you just one of my favorite methods, the T system, TEA, thoughts, emotions, and actions. I love teaching that. It's the most basic thing that any human being can understand, because it teaches you a lot about how you work. I will bring that into play, but just reminding you that join that webinar of mine. I'm looking forward to doing it. I get really excited about things, but I want to teach you some of the things that I know. Some of the things I've also taught in some other audio rooms, which were great. Some techniques around, there's one called the parent, adult, child model, which is very interesting, looking at the different positions that we can play when it comes to communication. So remember, I said that communication is a big part of how to get people, or how to make people do what you want. And I'm talking about ethical ways of persuading them, encouraging them. But way before that, I'm saying that you have to be very self-aware of who you are as a human being and what makes you tick. So I will definitely be talking about that one, I think, and then possibly 2 others. And I don't want it to be a long session on Saturday. I know it's a busy time for everyone. Probably 45 minutes maximum. That will give me enough time to put in some ideas, which in a good way, perhaps storytelling, who knows, so that you can go away and practice that and remember it and start using it. Because self-awareness for me comes first. That's always top of the tree. And then you're going to have ideas around communication for me, and then your ability as a human being to be empathic and caring. It certainly helps, doesn't it, to be opposite someone and to feel, as they say, seen, heard, and understood. 3 big things that we all have. So let me move on, guys, quickly to the fact that, yes, I want to show you the T cycle. Now, T system, T cycle, T, whatever you want to call it, but I like using it. It's about thoughts, emotions, and actions. Now, I want you to think about an event that you've had recently, something that's happened to you very recently, because events of themselves are quite neutral. And then something triggers it. Excuse me. Voice has gone there. Excuse me, drink some water. It's terrible having a It's terrible having a bad throat. Just comes on, doesn't it? So back to the plot. My voice has gone a bit quavery there. But back to the plot. Thoughts, emotions, and actions. I like to work with... Oh, goodness me, my voice has gone. That's terrible, isn't it? Bear with me, people. Thank you. Sorry about that. Little frog in my throat. I don't know why I say there's a frog in your throat, but perhaps we get a bit croaky. That might be where it comes from. So thoughts, emotions, and actions. Do you realize that you're always in that cycle? And if you were to analyze what's happening to you all day, every day, you could break it down into, what am I thinking? And I like to use my blue ring. What am I feeling? The red ring. And what actions or behaviors do I take? Now, they're circles. They're all circles. And I want you to notice that they combine together and they work together. That could just be for one event that's happening in your life. So you have to become very good at analyzing what's happening for you. So what thought are you having right this minute? Joy's really, really interesting and exciting, isn't she? Oh, I hope that's what you're thinking. Don't know what you guys are like. And then I want you to think, what am I feeling? So when you had that thought, what exactly did you feel? Very, very important, because these two things, they work together all of the time. And that's why we're toing and froing between thinking, feeling. We can get into a spiral, a never-ending spiral of stronger and stronger and stronger thoughts, which is where anxiety comes into play. And the final part of that cycle is, what did I end up doing? So yes, the actions, the consequences, the behaviors, what came out of all of that. So what were you thinking? What were you feeling? And then what did you end up doing? Call it the Olympic rings. They look like Olympics, don't they? But these three things, they work together. And your aim is to break that. You've got to break that whole cycle by either having a different thought, which is entirely possible, having a different feeling, which is a little bit harder, or just changing something, behaving differently. And when I get stuck in anything, I just break the cycle by doing something else, because it changes all of those moving parts. So that's a little bit about one of the processes that I love to use. And obviously next week, Saturday, I'll be doing a lot more. I have to give you more examples. I have a PDF that you can have and other little things that I will let you have as well, so that you can begin to realize how important it is planting that seed in somebody's mind. But before you get to somebody else's mind, look at your own. How's your own mind functioning? How are you? What triggers you? What gets you going? And how do you break your own cycle, so that when you are in front of people, you will be a lot more persuasive. You'll have much greater influence over them and impact, but mainly because you are managing your own self. So two people together in a room, there's that big cycle that goes on between them. So between me and you, right this moment, even though I'm on this side of the screen and you're on the other side of the screen, there's still an invisible loop happening between us. So we have the ability, especially when we're in a room, to regulate and change each other's emotions. And that's why this word, regulating your emotions, being aware, first of all, regulating, self-regulating, is important. We also can work with other people and co-regulate, which is bigger, isn't it? And that was the last part, I suppose, of social interactions and interpersonal relationships, is that we have the ability to influence somebody else's feelings, because feelings are contagious, aren't they? I think I've spoken quite a lot today, which is not unusual. You guys must be used to me by now. But I promised I would only speak for half an hour, so I am coming up to almost the half an hour. And I really would encourage you to join me next week and have some fun. Learn while you're having fun. That's the best way to learn all these things, so that you can feel more comfortable in yourself, which helps somebody else to buy into that, the ideas that you have, what you're trying to talk to them about. We're always in that process. And remember, the advertising world have already got it sewn up. Lots of things are being done to us, or we're accepting lots of ways and ideas because they've been doing this for years. So I'll probably share a couple of those ideas, if not on the session next week, definitely on a PDF, give you some ideas. But yeah, I do hope this half hour has been a good half hour. And like I said, I want to pat you on the back for not being thrown out by the title. You probably thought, what the hell is Joy on about today? 3 steps to make people do what you want. Is that possible? Of course, the answer is no. But the answer is also yes, because we have hidden thought processes, hidden biases, hidden ways of influencing people, which are at play all of the time. So I'm going to say my goodbyes, guys. Please put some messages in there or DM me. Let me know any questions that you have. It's lovely to see you all. Always lovely to see you in the room. It's so encouraging to join and to share things. And normally on the audio rooms, I've just seen Alice's name come up there, Alice and Karen. Normally in the audio rooms, I give you a chance to come on the stage so you can speak to me. Sorry, guys, it was just me live today. But I hope that's been a good one for you. And like I said, I encourage you to join me next week, Saturday, 28th of October. It's going to be 5 o'clock UK time, and that's midday EST time. So that's good for you if you're in America. That's midday for you, but over in the UK, it's going to be 5 o'clock for me. And anywhere else in the world, you can work out the timings for yourselves. But catch up with you all soon and DM me. Let me know if you have any questions. Always lovely to hear the questions that you have. And yes, let's begin to have more impact, more influence, the ability to persuade people and invite them into our world. In business, that's exactly what we need all of the time. And like I said, we're doing it all of the time, accidentally. I want to encourage you to be more intentional about it and do it and realize that you are doing it. So getting some great feedback there, guys. Thank you. That always makes me really happy. You know that. See, you guys have just had some influence and some power over me. You've made me happy. But like I said, no one can make you do anything in this world. It is a choice, and I've chosen to receive all of those messages, and they've made me happy. So thank you, guys. Do have a wonderful afternoon or a wonderful morning if it's still the morning for you, or evening if you're on the other side of the world. Normally Australia and New Zealand, those places, aren't they, really? Completely different time zone. But have a good one, and I'll catch up with you all soon. And yeah, join me next week. It would be lovely to see you all, and catch up soon. Okay, I shall be ending now, guys. Really, 3 minutes over. I'm very naughty. I wasn't going to be 3 minutes over, but I'm still on time. So see you all soon. Bye. Long message there from Mohammed. I'm not going to be drawn in. I shall read that afterwards.